We have such lovely music here. Just really nice. I grew up in a home with a father who had alcoholism. I think, at least in part, I became a counselor for people with alcoholism, drug addiction, eating disorders, in order to cope with my own family history. To not look within to deal with my pain, but to let my helping others heal and feel relief from their pain helped me resist my unopened box inside my shadow. It's not to say I didn't know that it was there. I wasn't curious about it. But I guess I was afraid that if I opened the Pandora's box of pain within me, its contents would fly out uncontrollably destructive, and in the end, I would be incapacitated by them. I hadn't read the story, or I don't remember having read the story of Pandora's box early in my life. I mean, everybody hears about it, Pandora's box, you open, everything comes out. But I guess I didn't know the last bit, where hope was also at the bottom of the box. And I found that hope was there for me. We all have different kinds of pain: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Some pain seems small, like a slight burn on a hot pan. Some incomprehensibly large, like childhood trauma from having a father with alcoholism. Some pain we deal with in the moment with a little antibiotic. Some pain may take a lifetime of healing. We each deal with our pain in different ways, and we deal with different pains in different ways. We all have strategies to deal with the pain, deal with the emotional and spiritual vulnerability that pain can cause, and to deal with the suffering, the distress that we experience when we're in pain. Many of these strategies are learned early in life. Some of our strategies are effective, others not so effective, some even destructive. Awareness of these strategies helps us to make mindful, effective choices when dealing with whatever pain arises up in our body, mind, or soul. I remember, I said earlier in our meditation, I am aware of my pain. I am aware I am not my pain. I am aware of my past. And I am aware that I am not my past. I am aware of hope, and that I am an agent of hope. All of these, I invite you to be aware of. Some of us will be wholly in being aware. Some maybe 50-50. Some not at all. Some you just deal with the pain that you experience in the moment. But I think there is something to be said with being aware of the pain in your life and how it impacts you and how you deal with it. Not too long ago, I heard this term called dosing your pain as a way or a strategy to deal with pain. whether it be coping with pain that is ongoing or a pain that is profound or significant or traumatic. And each of us has different definitions of what profound, significant, and traumatic are. I'm not here to judge what one person thinks is traumatic or significant or profound or another. Each of us decides that themselves. And we all have our own strategies, some that we're conscious of, some we're unconscious of. And our strategies, we have them to help us extinguish the pain, to quell the pain, or at least to manage the pain. And I think all of us take some of our pain and put it in that little box in our shadow and close the lid and screw it down. And we proceed from there, always finding new and different ways to keep the lid shut. Some might consider this a way of dosing your pain. As many of you know, I was a psychotherapist for many years. I increasingly found many people in distress because their box was full up, bursting, ready to come open, creating such fear in them that this Pandora's box would open and destroy them or destroy their families, that they turned to strategies that were destructive. Alcohol abuse, drugs, binging on food or sex, the physical pain that people would cut themselves for, just to keep the lid on. These destructive habits resulting from trying to keep this lid on hurt their health, hurt their relationships, really hurt everything in their lives. Now, I've heard this being referred to as dosing your pain. I don't think it's a very useful dosing. I don't know if that next one's coming up in a second, but I want you to see it before I move too much further. Over my life, there it is, I have become, let's say, a more spiritual person. I've come to the point where I now understand that pain is an inevitable part of life. I have not come to the place where I see pain as a gift. You know, not perfect. I don't know, maybe someday, but it's a long way for me to get there. I do know that pain is not something to be avoided, suppressed, or ignored. Pain is simply a signal that my mind, body, heart, spirit is giving me that I need to pay attention, to give attention to something. And that pain, when it is avoided, suppressed, or ignored, will more forcefully impact my life, trying as hard as it can to get my attention so that I will deal with it. And realistically, if I deal with it, I'll learn from it, and I'll grow to understand who I am more fully, both in the parts I know of myself and my light, and in the shadow sides of myself that I often choose not to look at. I realize I'm talking about pain here, and all of us would just as soon not be in pain. I mean, pain is painful. I mean, that's the reality. It's not pleasant in any way, shape, or form. But because pain is part of living, the only time we're not going to feel pain is when we cease to be alive. So I have come to a place in my life that I believe it's important to approach pain with curiosity. I know it doesn't seem like that worked out so well for Pandora, but didn't it? Her curiosity also released hope into the world. In some of the stories of Pandora, hope actually healed Pandora after the sickness and death and all that evil stuff came out and nearly killed her. And as I think about this story, they said, the world was without any of these things. Pain and death and all. That's not a real world. That's not real at all. There never was and there never will be a place like that. So I guess what do you take from the story then if you remove that piece? Do you still think that the story encourages us not to do something or to start something that might cause unforeseen problems? Opening a can, so to speak, of proverbial worms in our lives or the lives of the people around us by being curious? Or perhaps there's something else we can learn from Pandora's story. From my perspective, we all have Pandora's box within us. It's filled with all the things we put in our shadow, and we put those things in there because we have come to believe that they are unacceptable or unlovable. And we put our pain in there, the pain that we can't deal with. And we deal with some of it. I don't think we put all of it there. But the pain that we have that we just feel like we can't deal with, we put it in our shadow. Think about it another day, perhaps. I think we put the pain in there that we're unsure of how to face, realistically, how to cope with, how to manage. And unlike Pandora, who opened the box, we try to keep the lid on. But like Pandora, I believe there is hope inside all of our boxes. So I believe to live a full, authentic life, we have to open the box lurking in our shadow from time to time, letting out a little of the pain, healing from it, and renewing our hope that we can accept and deal with our pain, regardless of what it is. What I take from Pandora's story is that if we don't open the box inside of us, at least occasionally, and do a little unflinching self-examination, we are living in an unrealistic world. A world where we avoid uncomfortable experiences, where we don't think we have to deal with things like evil and death and suffering and pain. But we do. And hope can spring from pain. And the seeds of hope can be found planted even in the most evil of environments. When we reach through the pain in order to grasp the strands of hope, we realize that we can live life with all the brutal realities and problems and pain that there is. Just hang on to a little hope. Hope that we don't have to suffer indefinitely, that pain won't paralyze us, and we can experience pain without falling apart. Hope that we can heal from pain, even from pain that's been hidden in our shadows for a long time. But I want to tell you this too. You don't have to be all in with pain. I mean, you don't have to feel pain all the time. We don't have to let pain dictate our lives. It's okay to take some pain and put it in your box for a little while. Just don't leave it in there unexamined. And I don't think we need to feel all the pain inside of us all at once. That would be overwhelming. We don't have to throw the lid open on our box. We can exercise some control and let a little out at a time. A little out that we can experience, work to understand, figure out how it influences our lives, learn about who we are a little better, because we are both light and dark. And we can be curious as we approach it. For me, that's what I call healthy, constructive dosing of our pain. I have, over the years, opened myself up to some of the pain about growing up in a home with a person who had alcoholism. It was uncomfortable. I've learned that I need to examine the pain when I am not distracted by other things. I've learned that my initial reaction to pain, my strategy, if you will, was to choose to be the hero, to try to fix whatever pain there is in myself or others, to stand up for those in need, because that's what I did in my family. I was the oldest. I was the only one who could. Or at least that's what I thought. Knowing this about myself, I make every effort to respond mindfully when I am in pain, or someone I care is in pain. And then be curious. Not immediately react with my old strategy, but trying to figure out what this situation might teach me. To not immediately try to get rid of the pain in myself or others. And it's so hard sometimes, you know. I was in a group not too long ago, and someone started to cry. And my first reaction is to go over and put my arm around them and say, it's going to be better. That's the hero in me. But it turned out they needed to be in those feelings. They needed that time, not for me to take it away. So I need to stop. Notice, be curious. Listen, feel, explore. In myself. And if I'm with someone else that's in pain, you know, I sit with them and I try to ask them what they need. Is it for me just to be quiet and sit next to them, or me to hear them, for me to put an arm around them? What is it that they need from me, not what I think I need to give to fix the situation? Sometimes we find we have to do something collectively, collaboratively, for us to move forward. So how can you be open and curious about old or new pain, or pain hidden in your shadow? Perhaps you might take that meditation we did today that focuses on awareness and focuses on not being the pain, but being aware of the pain. You're not the pain that you feel. It's hard. I know, when you're in pain, you just want the pain to go away. But you can be curious. You know, just thinking about pain when you feel it and it goes to the nerves and goes to your brain. Do you think that when you're in pain? Not often. But if you ground yourself, you breathe, you ground yourself in the moment, You don't let yourself react with those old strategies. Perhaps you might consider being open to new ideas about the pain. Maybe you'll think of pain as a signal. And what is it signaling you? What is it trying to tell you or tell you to take it, to give attention to? Rather than just reacting. I mean, I know there are sometimes you just have to react. If you put your hand on something hot, you got to pull your hand away as fast as you can so you don't get burned worse. But in most cases, that's not the case. We are not in extreme pain from a burn in every situation when we feel pain. We can stay in the pain. It's not easy, I know. But you have a choice about how you will face and experience the pain, both old pain and new pain. Old pain that comes and rises up or slips out when your lid is not tightly shut. My friends, I invite you to explore, to stop when you feel the pain, to breathe, and give yourself time to consider what choices you have to better understand what is happening within you, where that signal is taking you. And in the end, better understand yourself.